I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. I'm an unattractive man. I believe my liver is diseased, but I don't consult a doctor for it and never have. No, I refuse to consult a doctor out of spite. That you probably will not understand. I know better than anyone that by all this I am only injuring myself and no one else. But still, my liver is bad. Well then, let it get worse. So begins one of my favorite books of all time. A book that shook me to my core in just 100 pages, what most authors fail to do in 1,000. Hey, you! Would you mind subscribing and leaving a like? It would mean a lot, and you'd be one of the first 100 subscribers I have. Now back to the video. A book I can only describe as psychologically visceral and philosophically scathing. Through the eyes of our envious, arrogant, and cynical narrator, we see the world as he does. With lines such as, "The best definition of man is a being that goes on two legs and is ungrateful." In Dostoevsky's Note from the Underground, we can see how the narrator does not look too fondly upon his fellow humans. He's truly embodied the edgy Redditor meme. He even thinks he's pretty smart and cool about it.
One and all, and I despised them all. Yet at the same time, I was, as it were, afraid of them. They were all stupid, and as like one another as so many sheep. Perhaps I was the only one in the office who fancied that I was a coward and a slave, and I fancied it just because I was more highly developed.
One can't help but pity how he's come to see the world this way. And would it surprise you to know that this isn't just philosophical doom and gloom? It's well documented in psychological literature, this slow drift into bitterness and resentment. No character does this apply to better than the mustachioed villain of Meet the Robinsons, Michael Yagubian. Meet the Robinsons follows Lewis, a brilliant orphan boy who invents a memory scanner to find the mother who abandoned him. Yeah, when you put it like that, the story sounds kinda depressing. But stay with me, because it gets worse. So he brings this invention to the school science fair, which is where we first meet our villain, the bowler hat guy, who showed up to sabotage Lewis's work for no apparent reason.
Boys back at HQ haven't figured out a motive yet, and by HQ, I mean headquarters.
I know what HQ means.
At first glance, the guy feels cartoonishly evil. Think Dick Dastardly with a splash of unresolved childhood trauma. Though of course at this point we don't know that yet. Because, spoiler alert, we eventually find out that bowler hat guy is none other than Lewis's old roommate from the orphanage.
I think you mean our old room.
What?
Yes, it is I, Mike Yagubian!
Ugh.
I know, I'm disgusting, but one learns to love it.
You tell me if that doesn't sound like the Dostoevsky passage I read you at the start of this video. So, how did this cute little orphan boy turn into this?
Well, it's a long and pitiful story about a young boy with a dream of winning a Little League championship. A dream that was ruined in the last inning. We lost by 1 run because of me.
Lewis kept him up one night tinkering, and Goob fell asleep during his Little League game, which made his team lose. You know that cliche, what advice you would give to your younger self? Well, here's Goob's.
Everyone will tell you to let it go and move on, but don't. Instead, let it fester and boil inside of you. Take these feelings and lock them away. Let them fuel your actions. Let hate be your ally.
Yeah, he doomed himself to repeat the cycle. If you haven't caught it yet, the first step towards a wasted life is to cling to things you are powerless to change, like external factors or the past. Compare that to Lewis, who despite spending the whole movie trying to find his mom, ultimately chooses not to see her, demonstrating the fact that he's moved on. It might be a piece of advice repeated ad nauseum at this point, from Seneca to Lao Tzu who all warned us, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. But it's only repeated because it's an advice we all too often forget. That we are what we tell ourselves. And Goob is all too aware of this, telling his past self the play-by-play of how he became the way he was. Like the underground man said, I swear to you, gentlemen, that to be too conscious is an illness, a real, thoroughgoing illness. And it's an illness that runs deep in Goob.
Let's see. Take responsibility for my own life or blame you. Ding, 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 ding. Blame you wins hands down.
Now you might think Dostoevsky was being hyperbolic when he called self-awareness an illness in 1864. But in the 1980s, researchers McCrae and Costa actually found that self-awareness, especially the kind tied to neuroticism, was closely linked to emotional instability, self-doubt, and internalized suffering. This study later became the foundation for the 5-factor model of personality, still widely used today. So yeah, as far as psychology is concerned, Dostoevsky wasn't being poetic. And the bowler hat guy? A textbook neurotic. He's often fearful. He barely manages normal human interactions, and more often than not, doubts and contradicts himself before finishing a thought.
I know. I'll turn him into a duck. Yes, yes, it's so evil. I don't know how to do that. I don't really need a duck. This may be harder than I thought.
And the way he's lived so far entirely revolved around this eventual revenge on Lewis. But like a dog chasing cars, he wouldn't know what to do with one, even if he caught it. What? I don't always quote philosophers. So, not only does bowler hat guy clings to the past, but he virtually lives in an uncertain, and let's be honest, unlikely future. A future that he's admittedly afraid of. And that brings us to the second cause of a wasted life, living in and constantly fearing the future. Maybe you've seen this quote on your Pinterest page or your mom's friend's baby blog. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. So that's it, right? To avoid becoming the bowler hat guy and wasting your life, all you have to do is live in the present. Well, not quite. Because even in the present, bowler hat guy is still powerless. If Bertrand Russell defined power as the capacity to produce intended effects, then Goob had none. Nothing in the movie went his way, and when things did, it wasn't because of him. If you've seen the movie, Doris, his hat, had planned and did everything. Goob was a nuisance at best, and at worst, he actively sabotaged her carefully laid plans with his impulsive, half-baked ideas.
I'm just not so sure how well this plan was thought through.
Crush the dreams of a poor little orphan boy! After that, it's all a little fuzzy.
You mean you haven't thought this through?
This realization hit me hard when I first read Notes from the Underground, because for all the narrator's showboating and dramatic monologues, I slowly realized he was living in denial. Denial of the fact that even if he had tried, he probably wouldn't have been able to change anything. And of course they'd be in denial, because to truly admit you are powerless is a horrendously awful thing to admit to oneself. The words pathetic, incompetent, and weak becomes like a slur to them, just for the simple fact that it be true. That brings me to my last step to truly wasting your life. Be powerless. Though Notes from the Underground and Meet the Robinsons are fictional work, the psychology of the downward spiral is all but fictional. I have personally had these periods. Perhaps some of you too. I was thankfully able to get myself out, but taken to its logical extreme, a lifetime of that would likely also turn me bitter and resentful, which would truly be a waste of life. Hey, we're trying to reach 100 subscribers. It'd be very nice if you could join us. I'll be uploading a video essay every 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys in the comments again. Goodbye!